Well, I don't really have a formal introduction, but that's Tcorrell in the
So
in the booth with me. He's agreed to talk to me today, so thank you for that. First of all, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Happy to be here. So let's start all the way at the beginning of your competitive journey. Let me a little bit past the deciding to play Rocket League for the first time, but when you started really competing, like in regular tournaments and figuring
hmm
out that you kind of enjoyed the grind a little bit, what was your mindset back then?
I mean, I never started the game like just thinking I want to go pro. I never even knew like what esports were even, to be honest. I just kind of started playing the game. I got really addicted to it. It was fun to get better. I'm super competitive and everything, so just getting better over time. Like, eventually got to the point where I'm like like to the point where I'm getting better, and then I'm like able to compete with pros and stuff. And at that point, I finally figured out like what esports were, and I was like, what are these orgs and stuff? I didn't know anything about esports or anything. My first RLCS that I watched was season 4. It was like right after I got the game, pretty much. Whenever Evo won, and I watched that, and I was like, I want to do that. So that's kind of how it started, I guess.
So after you watched that RLCS, was that when you started entering tournaments, or like how did you become a competitive player?
I mean, I was still on Xbox at the time.
Mm.
I'm pretty sure whenever I watched that, I was like working at a grocery store, like after school and stuff, trying to save money for a PC. I built my first PC because everyone on Xbox told me that like if I wanted to ever go anywhere or do anything in the game, I need to get a PC.
Hmm.
So I built my own PC. And then once I got a PC, I started entering like there are a bunch of like weekly tournaments, like Nexus tournaments and stuff like that. So I played in like the 1v1 tournaments. And then I started playing in three tournaments once I started to get a little bit more known, I guess, playing six mans and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking through your Liquipedia earlier just to get like real familiar, and there are a
hmm
lot of tournaments like
Yeah.
back 2018,
Yeah.
2019. You were all over
Yep.
grinding, and then I mean, your first kind of substantial win was the Renegade Cup. You won a
hmm
qualifier into the finals. What was it like winning that first big tournament?
Man, that was literally like the best feeling ever. Like I was playing with Kep and Zombie. Like we were playing like the Renegade Cup tournaments. Like they had like a few RLCS level teams,
Mm.
and a bunch of RLRS level teams, and like for us to be able to like beat those teams, it was like, dang, like we can actually do this, and it felt really good. We put in a lot of work, so it felt good.
Was that the point where you kind of figured out that going pro might be a possibility?
Yeah, for sure. I was like, all right, like the one that we won, I think it was the January one. We
Mm-hmm.
beat Peeps in the finals, which was like an RLCS level team, or RLRS, top RLRS level team at the time. We beat them like 4-0 in the finals. We like, I don't know, like we beat Splice earlier on, I think, in the tournament. Like we were doing really well, and I was just like, man, this is great.
And then
That
you came in
team was
second.
great. Yeah.
You came in second in the actual finals of that. Went
hmm
to game set. Do you remember who you played in that
We
grand
played
finals?
Zol, Hoxer, I think in
Afterthought.
Shock, maybe.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
afterthought.
that team was insane. Like I looked up to all those players and I was like, dude, this team is so good. Like I was surprised we were even able to get that close because I remember going into that tournament we played them in the uppers, I'm pretty sure, and we got like smacked. And then we went down to lowers and we had to play Peeps again. We beat them. And I mean, that tournament, that whole thing was just like crazy. I mean, for all of us. I mean, the biggest thing, I know it sounds kind of weird or not weird, but like during that tournament, like the Renegade was such like an elite level tournament that Psionics like gave out titles for it. And we never
Hmm.
had like titles at the time because I was never in RLRS or RLCS or anything like that. So for us, whenever we won that first Renegade qualifier or whatever, and we got a title for it, we were all like, dude, this is so sick. Like we get a title in game, super rare. And that was like the highlight, I think, for all of us.
I'm impressed you have that memory of like what team you were
Yeah.
playing, what players were on that
Yep.
team. That's
I remember all that stuff, dude. It's like whenever you play it, like it's just there.
yeah,
It's just
it
there.
sticks. But then
Mm-hmm.
8 months after that, same year after season eight RLRS, you retired. So what
Yeah.
what happened there? What was that decision about? And I mean, it only lasted 2 months, so talk about why it was so short as well.
I mean, I was just super young. I was super emotional, and like having losses like that. Like we got upset. We were first seed going into RLRS quals. We ended up like playing. I think it was birds. Birds
Mm.
to play. We played like a show match type thing right before the quals to see who would get first seed. We were like either first or second seed going into quals. We played Birds team, which was Hawker's team. I think it was with Mist or something at the time, and we beat them. And then we got first seed going into quals. So like we're thinking like we definitely like we've been doing really well in scrims. Like we've been beating everybody. Tournaments we've been doing good. So like there's like no chance we don't make it, right? And we got upset by Afterthought again. It was Shock, Tyler, and Hato, I think.
Mm.
And like that just like really, because after that, I was in rank X and six mans, ended up like getting kicked from that because I don't even know why, but I was rank A and like just a bunch of stuff happened all at once, and I was like, dude, like I don't know, I was super young, super emotional, and I was like, dude, I can't do this. I was like, I'm just not meant for it. Like I can't do it anymore. And super young, I was just like, I can't do it. That was just like a right after the fact kind of thing. And then actually I had AJ. AJ was like a really big person to keep going. Like he was a
Really?
pretty good friend. He like told me I was too good to like stop quitting or to quit the game, and I had a lot of potential and stuff. So like that's what kept me going, to be honest. He was like, you can't quit. Like you're too good to quit. And I was like, all right, well if AJ's telling me that, like I gotta, you know what I mean? Like I can't stop. So.
So, well, then you found a team and or a couple teams after that, and
Hmm.
eventually made your way to Xset after a little while. I think it was several months after you're coming out of
Yep.
retirement that you joined Xset, and I mean that's your first big org, right?
Hmm.
In Rocket League,
Yep.
and you had solid results. I mean, a top 8 in an RLCSX main
Hmm.
event. You got top 11 in a major. Talk me
Yep.
through joining Xset and what that experience was like.
I mean, to be honest with you, I started college and I was working full time at UPS. I kind of like
Wow.
I wasn't really like playing Rocket League too much at the time. Like I was still playing it because I still love the game. Like I thought that I was still like good enough, but with pro stuff, it's super like it's super hard. Even if you're good enough, like there's a lot of people now that I feel like if they were given a chance, they could definitely like be a lot higher in the pro scene. But I mean, it's all about connections and knowing people and stuff like that. And I was a very, to be honest, like a not loved player. I don't really know why. It's probably just because whenever I was young, I was super emotional and stuff like that. So that kind of stopped me from like ever thinking that I would have like another opportunity like that. So I was literally, I didn't even have the time to play. I was playing like probably like 20 hours past 2 weeks. I was working full time at UPS, working like 50 hours a week and doing college. Um,
Wow.
but I was like, all right, like I don't have time to play, so I'm just gonna sub for somebody. Like obviously, me and Cap have a background, like we teamed for a while and stuff. Like I was like, can I, any way I could sub for you guys? He was like, he had to talk with the boys and stuff. Like eventually, they were like, yeah, we can let T sub. So I subbed for Xset, and I wasn't expecting anything. I was literally just a sub, right? Like I'm not
Yeah.
expecting to play at all. I'm literally at work one day, and I get a message on Snapchat from Cap, and he's like, hey, I know this is super random, but like we just got done with the first regional and like we finished like 24th through 32nd or something like that. And he was like, dude, like it's just not going well. And I was like, I was wondering if you wanted to maybe try scrims and like maybe we can start you like for the rest of the split, see how it goes, and like we can go from there. And I was like, dude, like that is insane. I was like, yes, of course I'm gonna do that, right? Like there's no question. Like that's what I've wanted to do forever. So that's kind of how that whole thing started, because they weren't doing well, and they were like just, I guess they were like not even like the vibes and stuff with them, they weren't clicking, and they're like, you know what, let's just give T a shot. Kep said that he had to like talk to J Pal a lot and Trey, and make sure like try to convince them to even let me try. So big shout out to Kep. He's literally the reason why I even started the pro thing, because if that didn't happen, I mean, there's a good chance I wouldn't be anywhere, right? So
Right.
yeah, that's how
That's
that
crazy.
happened. So I started with them, and then literally the first regional that we did, we got top 8. We beat E United to make top 8, which was actually Hoxer's team at the time. I think it's Hoxer, Wanamaike, and Ajax. I'm pretty sure
Yep.
at the time. And I mean, I was like, dude, this is sick. Like you can't expect much better than that, right? Like going into it, rookie, I'd never even played an RLS. I never played an RLCS. Like it was first tournament and everything like that. And then we finished. I think we didn't get another top 8 after that, but we were like not doing bad, right? So,
No.
I
Yeah.
mean,
You did
yeah,
well.
we were doing pretty good. So I was excited, and I was like, dude, this is finally my shot. I was giving my shot, and like I finally proven, I can compete and stuff. So that's kind of how it started.
I
Super,
mean,
yeah.
that top 8 an Xset, just a quick aside, is one of their best results like ever in Rocket League. And they were in
Hmm.
Rocket League for a little while, so
Yep.
you got one of the best results out of all of Xset's existence.
Hmm.
But after a month and a half, how long you were on Xsets, they replaced you with Hoxer, or did you leave? What happened with the ending of the Xset part of your journey?
Oh man. I mean, I wasn't expecting. Okay, going into it, whenever Kep first asked me, he's like, "Hey man, like, we want to just have you start for the rest of this split, just so we can try to hopefully do better, and then we'll probably pick up someone after the split is over or whatever."
Mm,
Like going into it, I wasn't expecting to stay on the roster, but like I was hoping that I would be able to perform well enough to like then be like, you know what, like T's actually this good, like we should, you know what I mean?
yep.
And I thought that throughout like everything that we did, I was like, okay, like I think I probably can just stay on the team, right? Like going into it, I wasn't expecting it, but I was hoping that maybe I'd perform well enough to be able to stay on the team instead of just being like the sub. And I wasn't expecting to get kicked, but they kicked me for Hoxer because I mean Hoxer at the time was like one of the best free agents, and like I don't blame them at all. Um, but yeah, so I didn't leave at all. I got kicked. They dropped me into a call and were like, "Hey T, like we appreciate all you've done or whatever, but we're gonna go talk, sir." And I was like it was super unexpected for me. Like I wasn't
Hmm.
expecting it at all. Um, but yeah, that's what happened. So
Well, I mean, it kind of worked out with the
yeah.
getting picked up by Sonics after that. You
Hmm.
played with Shock and J Russ
Yeah,
once they picked you up.
there were two teams that I could have went with V1 or Sonics. I was trying out with those two teams at the time. It was Torment and Gimmick,
Mm-hmm.
and it was JRS and Shock. And I remember it was like such a hard decision because like obviously Torment and Gimmick, like they're just, you know what I mean, they're a duo that anyone would just love to team with, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I was looking at it and I remember talking to a bunch of buddies and stuff, trying to talk out like what if I had the opportunity to join both teams, like who would I pick and whatever. And I remember looking at the leaderboards for like the points, and like V1 were like number 18 in points or something, and Sonics were like 12, I'm pretty sure. Whenever I was trying out with them, and I tried out with both of them. I didn't really get that or didn't try out with V1 too much.
Mm-hmm.
But Sonics like offered me the spot one night, and like I was still having tryouts with V1, but they offered me a spot, and I didn't want to turn it down and not have the opportunity to play with them if I said no. You know what I mean? So I just took
Yeah.
it. I was like, yeah, like I'll come there for sure, because I thought Jairus was insane, especially in scrims. And I mean, Shock was like just the person, super solid. Like he never made mistakes. He's just super solid. I was like, yeah, like I'll go with you guys.
Wow.
Come to find out later, like I messaged Fireburn and I was like, hey man, like I appreciate you for letting me try out and stuff like that. But I decided I'm gonna go with Sonics. Come to find out, he obviously, or he didn't obviously, but he told me that I would have had the spot if I wanted it there too. So looking back on it, I mean, it was a little, you know what I mean. Maybe I could have waited a little longer and seen like which one was better, but
Do you regret
that
it at
that.
all not taking V1?
Um, I mean, I've thought about it a lot, and like I would like to think so, but at the same time, it's like if I didn't join Sonics, you never know what could have happened, right? Like we could have just been awful, like
Yep.
you never know. You really never know. And the thing that sucked was J Russ quit like while I was on the team, not too long into it either. So it was a little. That was part of the reason why I was like, well, maybe, you know what I mean. But you don't know that at the time, you know what I mean. Like that's just hindsight's always
Yep.
2020, right? So I mean, I had a great time with Sonics boys. Like me, Shock, Roldiz had a great season. We finished top 8 in like most tournaments. We got a top 4 even. It's literally the best tournament I've ever had. We beat NRG whenever NRG were like insane. We beat them 4-1, I think. I mean, I had a great time with those boys. I love both of them, and I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of worked out. You stayed with Songs for 2 years, I think it was. It
Yep.
was a long time you were with
Hmm.
that org. Maybe not the same rosters, obviously, but top 8, top 4, it's impressive. And that's
Hmm.
where, like, back then I was much more of a casual fan. And so that's when I started to recognize you. Like, I associate
Hmm.
your name with the
With
Sonics
Sonics.
name as well.
Yeah.
Because that's when you kind of became a full pro, and that's
Right.
when your org had a decal in the shop. You were
Hmm.
getting to boot camp thanks to the org. You were
Yep.
getting added by Direct on Twitter for being a season-long saves leader, I think it was, in the entire
Yep.
RLCS world. You got the most saves
Yep.
per game. That's the full pro treatment. And what's
It
that
is.
like,
Yeah.
going from Xset as a stand-in to being a full-time pro?
I mean, it's a dream, dude. Like this is it's always what I've wanted, and I mean, I always thought I was confident in myself that I always thought that I was good enough if I was given the shot. And I just needed that one person to believe in me and to give me the shot. And I mean, thanks to Kep, I mean, I'm still, you know what I mean, I'm still doing okay, and
Yep.
that's the rest is history. I mean, if it wasn't for Kep giving me that one opportunity, maybe I never would have played at all. So it's
Crazy to
crazy.
think about.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
So you spend 2 years with the Songs, but you do leave eventually. You go to Ghost, and you
Hmm.
you, you play with Hoxer,
Yep.
and reunite with Shock. So
Yep.
that's the next move in your journey. Talk me through that. Similar to the Xset move, similar to the Sonics move. How did Ghost happen?
Um, well, I mean, with Sonics, after the season was over, we were debating on, me and Andy were thinking about doing a duo and like trying out a bunch of thirds. And then we tried out a bunch of people, and none of them went well at all. So we were
Mm,
like, okay, like let's ask Zombie and see if he wants to stick, because like our potential was definitely there. We just couldn't perform on the day and stuff like that. So we were like, yeah, let's stick. We ended up deciding to stick. Zombie was like, yeah, I'm down. Come a week later, Zombie decided that he wanted to join the Knights because of mental reasons, and he just needed a refresh. He wanted something
yeah.
new. I don't blame him for it at all, especially after like we wanted to get rid of him. You know what I mean? So he's probably thinking in his head like, maybe if something goes wrong, like it's gonna be my fault, right? So I don't blame him at all. But that happened, and we were trying out thirds. The thirds weren't going too well. We didn't really like it. Me and Andy decided like, all right, like none of this is really working out that well. Like, do you want to just try out like other teams, just try to figure out what we can do? We're like, sure. And then Andy was trying out with Axel, well, current Axel, I guess. It was
Hmm.
Oxygen at the time with Toasty.
Right.
Um, and he was trying out with Dig, which obviously he's on Dig now. But I didn't really have too many options at the time. I think I had Ghost, and that was literally it. I
Wow.
had Ghost, and I had like a bunch of bubble teams, obviously. Like I was trying out with like Creams and Keb, and like Money Expert, which at the time, I mean, they were still bubble players.
Yep.
But I didn't really have any options really. But Ghost, I was like, dude, if I could get on Ghost, like that's really good because I've always thought Hoxer was insane. Obviously, I've teamed with Shock before, so I know how they are. They got a top 4, I think, once, like the previous season with Lion Blaze.
Hmm.
Which near the end of the season they started doing really bad. I think they finished dead last in the last like 3 events or something. But I was like, I think if I joined them, I could definitely do something there. But whenever we ended up going there, it just didn't work out. Like I honestly couldn't really tell you too much about why it didn't work out. I think all of us were kind of, we didn't have confidence in ourselves. I think all of us were like, just we were trying to change play styles. We just could not figure it out. I couldn't tell you why. I mean, looking on paper, I mean, I feel like we should have been really good.
Yeah.
Me, Hoxer, and Shock, but I mean, it just didn't work out. We kind of had a bunch of different opinions on like how we should play, and I mean, it just didn't work out. Sometimes that just happens. That's why like if you look on paper on sometimes like this team should be so good, but like sometimes like it really does matter about how a team meshes, and especially now in today's game, like everyone's so good now that like it's like one of the most important things. Like you can have three individually insane players and they could just not do good because I mean the whole game is shifted to where everyone's so good
Hmm.
that it's super team oriented. So
I mean, look
I
at
wish
Space
that team did
Station.
better, but I mean you can't go back now, and
Yeah,
it's just how it is. I mean SSG got Hoxer and they're number one in A. So
exactly. That chemistry's big. But
yep.
I mean, even though Ghost didn't work out, that took you to a place that I'm the most partial to. I think in your journey, your addition to Akrew.
Yep.
That was your infusion into that roster. I think really sparked something. I know Tenric and I, all the production behind the scenes guys, were really excited. During the winter splits, and you're
Yep.
going toe to toe with G2, and
Hmm.
that Gen G series felt like you guys really could
Yeah,
have
we
beaten
should have had
them.
that series, man. We should have had that series. I hate
But
thinking about that series.
there was a lot going right at that time.
Hmm.
What was it about Acrew in the winter split of this season that went so right?
I mean, to be honest, I think all of us thought that we underperformed to what we were expecting just
Mm-hmm.
throughout scrims and stuff. Like we felt like we were good enough to be like top eight consistently. But I mean, we didn't obviously do bad in the winter split, but we definitely thought we could have done better. We got really unfortunate groups, to be honest. We got really
Yeah.
tough groups. Um, but I mean, yeah, those boys like I mean, whenever I joined, like we all wanted to win, and I mean, it was good. We all like just starting playing together, like we went over a lot of replays, and we were fixing a bunch of stuff, and I mean, it was fun. It was fun.
So on a more of a micro scale, that Gen G series, the one, why didn't you win? Because I remember that vividly. Because we were all thinking, because
Uh,
Gen G's stream had to come over to the Acrew stream and watch because theirs went down. And it was this really big thing, and I think there's an overtime game that you guys dropped, and then that was kind of turned the tables. But do you remember what happened there? This is just my
I
curious
think
brain asking.
literally there were just so many times that we could have scored, and we just couldn't put the ball in that. It's like
Mm.
it just came down to that. I think there were two OTs in that series that didn't go our way or something. They scored on 0 seconds, I think, one of the games or
Yep.
something. Like, it was just really unlucky. I mean, I think we played better than them that series, and we just couldn't close it out. That's all it is. Just couldn't put the ball in the net. Simple as that.
Fair enough. Thanks for indulging me there. I remember that
Yeah.
series vividly. But
Hmm.
then in the spring split, I mean, results didn't go your way at all.
Yeah.
I'm curious what you think happened during the spring split that wasn't as exciting as the winter split accrue.
um. I think it was just a mixture of like us just trying out. Like we were trying to change our play style a bunch. Like we would change from this to that and then back to this and back to that. I think we were all just overthinking and like we were losing our confidence after not making, the first regional or
Mm.
whatever. And I think it was just a mixture of all of that. Just trying to change everything, thinking too much and just like underconfidence. Like we just lost and we just couldn't find our footing again. But then in the draw, I mean, you see, we just beat
Yep.
Complexity, who were the number one team in NA at the time, like tied for number one with V1. So I mean, we have the potential. It's just got to perform.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully that things go well for that roster. But I'm curious
Hmm.
now because we're caught up to present time in the
Yep.
Tcorrell journey. What's next for you in the future? You're going to continue on the grind indefinitely. You still, I mean, your Twitter has a pinned tweet that I really liked. It was
Yeah.
get up, work hard, fail, stand back up, face it again, do a little better, fail again, get back up, repeat. I won't stop until I'm on the top. Is that still the goal? Is to
That's still
get
the
on
goal. It's
top,
still
keep
the goal.
grinding?
Yep. Still the goal. I'm still grinding. I'm gonna be, I'm obviously still playing with the crew boys for now, but I'm gonna be trying to get tryouts with whoever I can, and we'll see what happens going into next season. But I mean, I'm gonna be grinding. I still haven't even got close to what I want to do. So I
Oh,
mean, I'm still gonna
that's
be playing, and hopefully I'll be able to do better than the last split. But we'll see.
that's good to hear. Glad to hear it. And then
Hmm.
I one more question I have for you. So you were married in April. Congratulations, by the way.
Yep. Thank you.
I want to know what parts your wife has played in this whole journey, and what does she mean to you?
I mean, she's been supportive from the beginning. She was with me whenever I even got the Xset opportunity, so she's been here throughout the whole ride.
Wow.
She supported me the whole time. I mean, obviously through all the ups, she was there. Through all the downs, she was there. I mean, she like makes me food on game days. Like she brings me
Oh,
drink, water, and stuff. Like she's great. She supports me throughout all of it. So she's great.
that's incredible. Well, I'm happy for you, and that's all the questions I've got for you. So feel free to plug anything here, content, or follow you on Twitter, anything. Just the
I
floor
mean,
is yours, man.
just my Twitch, Tcorrell RL. I mean, I stream on there, and that's really it. I mean, my
All right.
YouTube too, but I haven't been posting on there, so I can't really. You know. So,
Well, long off season. Maybe that's the opportunity for
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Okay. Well, Tcorrell, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you indulging me here. That was fun.
Yes, sir. Thank you for inviting me as well.
Of course.